the recording. Start the live stream.
Gary, you're looking sharp.
Just for you.
You too, Garrison and Chris and everybody else.
Sorry.
That I was feeling left out.
I wore a similar shirt today, Chris. So I couldn't compliment you because it'd be like I'm complimenting myself.
And Gary.
It shows that we're live on Facebook on the Facebook page. I don't know if somebody could check that just to be sure. And so everybody knows we are now recording and live streaming.
Yes, I see the live stream on the Facebook page.
Okay, perfect.
Same Z's.
Okay, well, we have quorum. I think we might be waiting for a few more people, but we can go ahead and start. So is everybody okay with that? Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:04. And the first things first, which is the roll call. Can the secretary please take the roll?
Okay, we have Ms. Robson,
I am here.
Mr. Malagon,
Present.
and the secretary is present, Mr. Verlandingham,
Here.
Mr. Butts,
Do not see Matthew yet.
Ms. Stump,
Present.
Ms. Young,
Present.
Mr. Alvstad,
Present.
Mr. Brown,
Present.
Lepacek,
Here.
Mr. Lima,
Here.
Ms. Morrow,
Here.
Mr. Minneletti,
Here.
Mr. Strawn,
Present.
Ms. Tewksbury,
Present.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
and Mr. Ham.
Present.
And the roll call is complete.
Okay. All right, so it appears that the only person that isn't here right now is Mr. Butts. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, so right now we have both of the alternates present. However, there are no at-large that are missing, so they won't be seated at this time. If anybody is going to leave the meeting, please let us know so that we can swap in alternates as need be. But we do have everybody but Mr. Butts. Okay, so I'm going to on my screen. The one thing I forgot to put on the agenda is adoption of agenda. But there's really nothing to adopt because it was all with previous notice. So I'll share my screen with, oh, that's probably why I didn't put it on there. Give me a moment. Everybody see the agenda?
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes. Okay, so the agenda is call to order, roll call, and then of course the agenda, public comment for 10 minutes, elections to fill committee vacancies, for operations committee, 1 member, Budget Committee 1 member, Program Committee 1 member, Communications and Media Committee 1 member, Membership Committee 2 members, Historical Preservation Committee 1 member, Legislative Committee 3 members. I do not want that to start. And then candidate endorsements, which I'm sure you saw that in the last day, we have 2 more endorsements that came through. So we have Tom Nichols for State Assembly District 8, Kelly Carden for Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council at large, Roger Cohen for Redlands City Council District 1, Deborah Brandon for John Sweat Unified School District Board, and Lawrence Samuels for Carmel Unified School Board. And then adjournment. So next on the agenda would be public comment. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing at this point. So we've got 10 minutes for public comment. I know that there are a few people that are here for public comment. If you would like to speak during public comment, please put your hand up with the hand motion thing, which you should be able to see on the bottom of your screen. If you don't, you should probably be able to find it under more. So, okay, Richard Michael has his hand up. We will go to him. We've got 10 minutes for public comment. We typically do 2 minutes. Mr. Lima?
I got you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we need a timekeeper. So, Mr. Michael, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to cover 2 things that are very short, like 1 sentence, 2 sentences, and then I'm going to cover the main point that I wanted to raise today. One is something we discussed the other day. Every local governing body subject to the Brown Act has been violating the meeting notice provision, section 954.2, for going on nearly 4 years now. Why aren't libertarians in local offices setting an example? Maybe they don't know the law. Sad, if true. Every one of you who disposes of food waste in California is now a slave to CalRecycle since January, and you're being gouged to pay for the food waste separation too. Again, what are local governing bodies doing about it? Maybe you don't know the law. And here's the main point. Any bona fide organization in California can file ballot arguments against every local measure in every county. As an organization, you get priority over the few locals who file poorly written arguments. It's 100% free. You just have to get to the county's recorder's office with your paperwork. Mark Hinkle has been doing this in Santa Clara and San Mateo counties for years via his Silicon Valley Taxpayers Association. For all Mark's time and effort, he hasn't been very effective, but you can easily learn how to become more effective if you understand your audience. With one local activist, we defeated a $52 million school bond in Ridgecrest in Kern County in June without arguments in the voter guide. So the voter guide is just a bonus that saves you a lot of time and energy. That's all.
Oh, well, that was very quick. And I just saw a chat come in. I don't know what that means. Okay, well, thank you very much. And thank you for talking about that. I spoke with Sir Michael yesterday, and this is something that I think we should do. We've got an opportunity to do it, but we can't actually take it up at this meeting. So I am hoping to put through an email ballot for that. So is there anybody else for public comment? I know that Mark Hinkle had wanted to speak during public comments, but I don't see him here. And I think it was on the same issue, which was what Mr. Michael spoke on. So is there anybody else here that would like to speak during public comment?
Would right now be the time for public comments for candidate endorsement?
Well, you can speak to your endorsement now. You'll probably be able to speak to your endorsement at the time we get to it, although I know that you're having some issues at home. So if you'd like to speak now, you can certainly do that.
I can wait until later. I just now got on the call. I'm kind of covered in grease, so I'm just now getting in the middle of it. So I can wait until that time.
Okay, I just wanted to check because I know that your air conditioning and swamp cooler and stuff weren't working. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Which we were just talking about the heat, and that would suck. All right. Well, we've zoomed past the public comment, so that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is elections to fill committee vacancies. The first vacancy that will be filled will be the operations committee, and that is a committee that can act quickly on things that come up between meetings or in times where we don't have enough time to have an email ballot or call a special meeting for in cases of emergency. It typically doesn't meet often, but if it does, it's important to have that. Ms. Nix had been on that, had been elected to that committee after convention, and she of course has resigned. So we have one opening on that. So I will open up nominations for the operations committee. And I'll let others go first, and then if they don't go, I'll go. Okay. I will make a nomination. So typically in the past, the operations committee has typically been officers. So I will nominate Mr. Malagon to replace Ms. Nix as vice chair on that committee. Nominations do not need seconds. I did see that Mr. Hinkle just joined the call, but I don't know if we too late to go back to him, or maybe we can let him speak while we set up the ballot. I thought I saw a hand raised, but now I don't. Did somebody have their hand raised? Is that you, Mr. Alstead?
Yeah, I did. I didn't mean to. I apologize. I lowered it.
Okay, perfect. All right. Are there other nominations for operations committee? Hearing none. That makes this easy. We don't have to go to the e-ballot that I've created. We only have one nominee, which would be, oh, and yes, Mr. Lima, it's 70 minutes for this in total. So we will go to a vote. This is an election, and being that there's only one candidate, we can do this by, it's really hard to do a show of hands or voice votes in Zoom meetings. So I'm going to ask the secretary to do a roll call vote. A yes vote would be voting in favor of Mr. Malagon. A no vote would be voting for NODA, because NODA is always an option on our ballot. Mr. Secretary?
All right, I'll start from the end of the alphabet. Miss Tewksbury,
Yes.
Mr. Strong, Mr. Strong,
Aye.
Mr. Miniletti,
Aye.
Miss Morrow,
Abstain.
Mr. Lima,
Aye.
Miss Lepacek,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Alvstad,
Yes.
Miss Young,
Yes.
Miss Stump,
Yes.
Mr. Butts is not voting. Mr. Vallandigham,
Abstain.
Secretary will vote yes. Mr. Malagon,
Aye.
Madam Chair, the vote is 11-0-2-1.
Congratulations, Mr. Malagon. You are now on the operations committee.
And the chair is not
Madam
voting.
Chair.
I'm sorry? Yeah, the chair,
voting.
I didn't need to vote. Okay, so that then takes us, and I just saw a hand up again, but then it went down. So I'm going to assume that that too is a mistake.
It was a clapping
That will take
emoji.
us. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, that takes us to the next committee, which is the Budget Committee. That is a committee with one vacancy. We did receive applications for this committee, and the applicants were Sunil Chabara and Robert Turner. So I don't know if anybody would like to nominate those two, and if there are additional nominations, which I believe there is an additional nomination. If
I
you would
would-
like to nominate somebody,
I would like to nominate Adrian Malagon for budget.
okay, Ms. Stump has nominated Mr. Malagon. Are there other nominations for Budget Committee? Oh, and Mr. Malagon, you do accept, correct?
I accept, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Are there additional nominations? If not, I will nominate the two people that asked to be nominated. So I will nominate Sunil Chabra and Robert Turner. Is there any additional nominations? Okay, hearing none. This will take me just a brief moment to get the e-ballot ready. And so I'm going to ask, would there be any objection to hearing from Mark Hinkle for 2 minutes while I do that, since we don't have anything else to do for 2 minutes while I do that? Okay, Mr. Hinkle, if you would like to.
Yeah, sorry
Speak
for
for-
dialing in late, but I was busy writing ballot arguments against parcel taxes and bond measures.
We appreciate that, Mr. Hinkle.
And thank you. And I did put the link to ed-data.org in the chat function. This is a partnership for the Department of California, Department of Education, and the Data Educational Partnership. It's a couple of nonprofits. The ideal scenario here is to look at some of the detailed information. There's academics, budgets, per cost, student enrollment, just a wealth of detailed information that you can use to put together cogent arguments of why a bond measure or parcel tax shouldn't happen, including academics. And something that has been kind of unique in the last couple of years, as you can imagine, enrollment in school districts typically has declined. The one we're currently working on is the Alum Rock School District. I kid you not, over 1,700 students declined in the Alum Rock School District here in San Jose. So most school districts are dropping student enrollment, and sometimes you can actually check, and sometimes in those school districts where enrollment is dropping, they've hired more teachers and they've hired more administrators. Kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So anyhow, I've written ballot arguments and parcel tax arguments against for about 35 years. If anybody would like to partake in doing that, I can send you samples of what I've written, and you can modify to your heart's content. And any questions you might have about the process, I think you heard from Richard Michaels, right? So, you know, he's the big bad bond guy, and I've been working with him for several years. And so this is the kind of the time of the year where those jurisdictions, school boards put stuff into the registrar voter or the county clerk. And it's a great way for the Libertarian Party to get our message out. And it doesn't cost anything except just some time to write the ballot arguments and get it on the voter handbook. So it's pretty good way to get our name out there with, you know, particularly in areas where we don't have any candidates. So any questions? Did I take up my
No,
2 minutes?
I believe so. So Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have activated the ballot and you should be getting an email, although in the past I've had a little bit of trouble getting these to send properly. So I'm going to try to send it again. When I did a sample of this earlier today, it went through fairly quickly. Has anybody gotten the email yet?
No, Madam Chair. Well, I have not. I can't speak for anyone else.
Well, I haven't
also
either.
have not.
Most of you have been on Zoom or on eBallot in the past, so you might just be able to log into it. I've tried to send it 3 times. The ballot is active at this point. And
Would it be possible to drop the link in the chat?
It's each person gets their own email. It's not a link. This is the one thing that's annoying about eBallot is it sometimes takes a minute to get these.
You just do mail ballots.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm just kidding.
Might it be better, or would it be in order to just perhaps each send our votes to the secretary via chat direct message?
Well, typically these are secret ballots per our bylaws, so that wouldn't be super secret.
Yeah, I was able to log in using the old email on July 29th. You sent an email at large alternate election as a subject.
Yes.
And I followed that link in that.
Okay,
July
and just so
29th?
you know that this is,
Yeah, July 29th.
and this went out to just 14 people because Matthew is still not here. So, and it didn't go out to the alternates, obviously. Yeah, this is the one thing that's somewhat annoying about this is that
If we were to log in from the website, it'd be our LP email address or our personal one.
You get a username. Mine was like G_Brown, I think.
Yeah, I was saying it's first initial underscore last name.
yes.
I'm not finding that email for some reason.
You said it was July 29th?
Yeah, July 29th at 10:39 p.m. is when I got it.
And the title, the header for the email again, Mr.
At
Brown or
large,
Mr. Alston?
at large alternate election. If you search for access code, it might show up easier because we had a lot of emails with the same subject at large alternate election, I think.
I think I forgot that went to our personals, or it got rerouted that way. And I was looking in the vice chair account, so I'm going through my personal now. There we go, found it. And I'm sorry, the instructions again were, oh, here they are, they're in the email, so.
I do not know why these emails. Once you've logged in once, you should be able to stay logged in. Okay, so right now we've got several people that have voted. I'm going to give this ballot another like few minutes. Make sure everybody can log in.
Just looking for my login credentials.
Yeah, it made me
Yeah, and I found
put
it
in
the
a
same
new
way.
password. So that took a minute, but I just finished voting myself.
Okay. I see that Mr. Edgar, Mr. Strawn, Mr. Vlamham, and Ms. Lepacek have not voted yet.
I just submitted mine.
And so, Madam Chair, if I understand you correctly, if we were to stay logged in, the ballots would simply, if we go to the dashboard, they would continue to populate.
Correct. You may need to refresh, but they will give you the new active ones as you go. Actually, I think I can send a direct email to you. If that, Chris, you should have just gotten an email. Shane, I'm gonna send one directly to you as well.
Thank you. Yes, I just got that.
Paul, I'm gonna send you an email as well. Actually, this is the way to do it. Send personal emails. Go to the emails so it doesn't show that it's sent.
I just voted.
Okay. The only ones that haven't voted are Mr. Edgar and Mr. Strawn. Mr. Strawn, did you get the email that I sent you?
I got an email, but it's a blank email that just says ballot
Oh, great.
in the subject line.
Okay, let me do this. Thought it would send the other. Okay, give me one more second then. Okay. Hopefully this works. Tell me if this email works for you. That work, Chris? And is Shane on here?
Here we go. That worked. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Okay, did Shane leave the call?
It appears that he did. I don't see him on the screen.
Okay, in that case, everybody has voted, so we'll.
Yes, I voted, Madam Chair.
Okay, yeah, I see that everybody but Shane has voted, so. All right, so in that case, the winner is Mr. Malagon with 8 votes, and Mr. Chabra received 4 votes. So congratulations, Mr. Malagon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you read the results again? I'm sorry, you broke up just a bit.
It was 8 votes to 4 votes. To 0, no to 0 for Mr. Turner. And I will send the actual tally from that to Mr. Edgar. I printed the e-ballot results and I will send that to Mr. Edgar, but it's that is the result. So he'll have that for his record. Okay. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the program committee. For that committee, there is one vacancy, and we had four people that applied for that vacancy. The four people that I had sent out the resumes and applications were Alex Belinsky, Aaron Clark, Alex Trujillo, and Trevor Bodie. Would anybody like to make nominations for the program committee?
I will nominate
Or I said that.
Sunil.
Did I say
Oh.
that? I said that wrong. I was saying membership. I am so sorry. It's Sunil and Gail Lightfoot. I lied. I was
Right, you read the
wrong one.
right
Program
committee, but you read the wrong, right.
correct. So program committee is Sunil and Gail.
I will nominate
So
Mr.
there's
Sunil
two.
Chabara.
Okay. So Mr. Chabara has been nominated by Mr. Malagon. I will nominate Gail Lightfoot. Interestingly, Gail thought she was on the committee already, which she wasn't, but she has been scanning historical documents and would like to be on it. So is there any other nominations? Hearing none. Okay. Committee. So the two nominees are Mr. Chabara and Ms. Lightfoot, and then of course none of the above, and you always have an option for NOTA. So I'm going to activate that ballot. I'm not even going to bother with sending the emails because everybody should be logged into their devices at this point. Is that correct?
I am. I had to re-log in just in case anyone hasn't tried to refresh. So when you go back to the dashboard, it makes you re-log in, it seems.
No, I don't have any active ballots. That's why. Was everybody else able to do that?
Mine says no active ballots.
It's the same. I just refreshed and it's showing the same for me as well.
Give me a moment. Okay, now check. Does everybody see the ballot now?
Yes.
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 No.
Who is that?
Miss Stump.
Ms. Stump, can you try clicking on or logging in again?
It seems that for every time you'll have to click on the link. So if you have it readily available, it'll take you. So it'll log you out every time you have to re-log back in once the ballot is active. At least from what it seems to me on my end. Just for anyone else that had trouble.
Okay. Is it working now, Ms. Stump?
I was able to just refresh the dashboard and got my second ballot, so.
Yes, it's working now.
Oh, and I just realized that this went out to two people that shouldn't vote, which is Mr. Han and Mr. Miller. Please don't vote because I sent it out to the two of you in error. Okay, it looks like everybody has voted. Okay, everybody has voted. So the results are that Mr. Chabra won with 10 votes and Gail Lightfoot received 3 votes. None of the above received none, and there was no write-in. So I will send that to Mr. as well. So that brings us to the next election, which is for the Communications and Marketing, or I'm sorry, Communications and Media Committee. There is one opening for that. The people that sent applications for that committee were the ones I said last time by mistake. Alex Belinsky, Aaron Clark, or actually Aaron Clark and Trevor Bodie, they had sent applications for the wrong committee, but I think everybody got their applications, and Alex Trejo. Or no, once again, I'm doing the wrong one. CMC.
No.
Gabriel, I keep screwing up. Gabriel Rajkovic, Alex Belinsky, Araceli de los Santos, Robert Samuel Turner are the people that filled out applications for that committee. I do know that one of those people is on the meeting. I don't know if any of the others are on the meeting. And being that I personally don't know, and I may be saying it wrong, Araceli, would there be any objection to her introducing herself? Okay, hearing none. Would you like to introduce yourself since you're here and you've been here since before we started?
Yeah, hi, my name is Araceli de los Santos. I'm an honorably discharged U.S. Army veteran with a combination of over 18 years active and reserve service to my country. I'm a mother to a college undergraduate and an 11th grade student in LAUSD. I'm the Director of Veterans Resource Services of DMB Consulting Firm and the owner of the Orange Petunias. I'm a volunteer at Your Image 2020 and an alumni of Veterans Stand Together. I'm also a member of the NAACP. I enjoy writing, nature, dancing, singing, working hard, and spending time with my children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, sorry, my husband was asking me a question. So those are the people that had expressed interest. I'm opening nominations for the Communications and Media Committee. Is there any? Would anybody like to make nominations?
I'd like to nominate Araceli de los Santos, if she's not already on the ballot.
Well, she is, but I
Okay,
mean, but people have to be nominated for me to actually keep them on the ballot. Okay, thank
Madam
you.
Chair, could you read the remaining names on the ballot?
Yes, Gabriel Rajkovic, I think, Rajkovic, Alex Belinsky, Araceli de los Santos, and Robert Samuel Turner.
I will
think
nominate.
all of those.
I will nominate
ahead.
Gabriel Rakovic. I believe that's. I've probably mispronounced and butchered it terribly, but I will nominate Gabriel.
Okay, thank you. And I probably mispronounced it as well. Anybody else want to make nominations? Okay, well, I will go ahead and I will nominate Alex Belinsky and Robert Samuel Turner. I do not know Robert Samuel Turner. I do know Alex Belinsky. She's in Los Angeles County, or I'm sorry, Alex is in Los Angeles County and Alex is part of the Youth Caucus, just in case. So let us go back to this and hopefully this will work far more smoothly this time. Okay. Communications and media. And before I close nominations, were there any other nominations for this committee? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and Mr. Strawn is still not here, correct?
Correct. I believe we noticed that he was gone at about 5:25, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Butts is still not arrived, correct?
That's
That is
correct.
correct, Madam Chair.
So we'll be going. The ballot should be active now.
Yep, I've got it.
Nope.
Oh, now that I see it spelled out again, I'm going to go with, I think it's pronounced Rekovic. Feel confident about that one.
Thank you. So is everybody able to get their ballot?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Have everybody but 3 people that have voted so far? Now just one person, Ms. LePaycheck, have you, I'm not sure, have you voted?
Yes, I have.
Now we're getting the emails from before. It's funny, so there was a massive delay, it seems.
Apparently there's massive delay. I will put in a report on that. I sent another report to them yesterday for an issue that they don't do ranked choice properly. Okay, so the results are in, and Mr. Would you like to say that last name again, Mr. Malvin? Rajkovich, is that how you say it?
Rakovich.
Rakovich
Yeah.
received 9 votes, and Ms. De Los Santos received 4 votes. So Mr. Rakovich has won that election. I will send that to Mr. Edgar after the meeting, which will then take us to the next committee, which is the membership committee. So this one, I should probably say the names right because this is the one I keep trying to say each time. It's the wrong committee, so watch, I'll get it wrong anyways. So the people that sent out applications for membership committee were Alex Belinsky, Alex Trejo, and then also Aaron Clark and Trevor Bodie sent out applications that were supposed to be for the membership committee, but for whatever reason, it showed affiliate support committee. So I'm opening nominations for this committee.
I will nominate Mr. Aaron Clark and Mr. Trevor Bodie.
Anyone else?
I'll nominate
You
Alex
don't have to accept
Trujillo.
the- Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I will nominate Ms. Mix Belinsky for that committee. Any other nominations? What did Mr. Minnelli just say?
I'd like to nominate myself, Araceli De Los Santos. Is that permissible, Madam Chair?
Unfortunately, you can't nominate yourself, but I will nominate you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 candidates for 2 positions. Is there any other nominations? Okay, so nominations are closed. Take me 1 second to add this additional choice. And you can vote for up to 2 choices on this one. So it's Alex Belinsky, Trevor Bodie, Aaron Clark, Araceli De Los Santos, and Alex Trejo.
The ballot has not been released, is that correct?
It's about to be. I had to add that
Okay.
that additional choice. So it is 5:51. Mr. Minnelli has left.
Correct.
Mr. Strawn is not here. Here. Mr. Miller, are you still here? Is Terry Miller still here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you will be voting as first alternate, so you will be seated for Mr. Minnelletti at 5:52.
All right, that would be wonderful, although I still have yet to receive any sort of email, so I don't.
Well,
have the
you
link
will
to-
this time.
Okay.
Well, okay, you may not receive the email, but can you log into it looking at the July 29th email that we've discussed?
I looked for that. I do not see that. I actually did.
Okay, let me
run to
do
my
this.
Go into my Outlook and look at that, and I did not see anything.
No,
from July-
let me do this. I will send you an email with yours. Let me go ahead and activate the ballot, and I will send you, because Mr. Edgar, that went through pretty quickly, did it not?
Yes, that's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, so give me 1 second to. To update, please fix errors. Okay, I've activated the ballot and
It does not appear activated if it is.
it um try it again in a minute, because I think that it showed that it's activated as of 7:55.
Looks like it's working now.
It's up now.
Ah, it is.
Okay, and Mr. Miller, did you get that email that I sent?
Yes, it just came through.
Okay, you should be able to get logged in from that. So currently there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that have not yet voted. Mr. Edgar, well, the votes I don't have yet are Mr. Edgar, Ms. Tewksbury, Mr. Lanahan, and Mr. Miller.
I voted, Madam Chair.
I'll check it again.
You should see mine now.
Okay, I'll check it again. in
Mine
just
has
one
been
moment.
submitted, so it must just be delayed.
Yeah, there seems to be a little tiny bit of delay. Okay, 1 moment.
It's like banging potatoes together.
Mr. Secretary, so just to be clear while the chair is away, so are Mr. excuse me, Mr. Miller and Mr. Ham both seated at this time?
Mr. Ham has not been officially seated yet. That's
We're
all.
only missing, oh, you're correct.
Because we're missing Mr.
Ham
Minnelletti
should
as
be
well.
seated because Mr. Strawn, yes, you're correct. I did not send out a ballot to Mr. Ham on this particular one. Let me see where the ballot is at right now. You're correct, he should be seated because Mr. Minneletti left. So just voted. Okay, well, everybody I sent ballots to voted. We have two clear winners, so I don't know that it will matter with Mr. Hams, but I will leave it up to the body because I can restart the ballot again to include him. The results that we have right now are Mr. Clark received 10 votes, which is more than a majority. Mr. Bodie received 9 votes, which is more than the majority. So therefore, the two of them would be seated in that committee. The other votes were 3 votes for Mr. Trejo and 2 votes for Ms. De Los Santos. Would you like me to redo the ballot to include Mr. Ham, or is this going to be okay for this ballot?
If Mr. Ham has no objection, I would be okay moving forward with the next one.
I have no objection.
Okay, thank you. And I will be sure to include you on that one because we are missing 2 at-large members now. So, all right, so congratulations to the 2 winners of that. And is Ms. De Los Santos still on here? I wanted to thank her for coming and putting her hat in the ring. See if she left.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here.
Oh, you are there.
I'm here.
Thank you. Well, thank you. And I hope, by the way, even if you're not on the committee, we're still looking for volunteers for many of these committees. So we can certainly get you active in the party. So I hope you're not discouraged. But I think you're kind of a new entity to people. So.
No, I'm encouraged by those votes. Yeah, thank you.
Huh?
Thank you all. Yes, I'm volunteer available for whichever area needed.
Excellent. I know that you're running for the next committee as well. So the next committee on the agenda is the Historical Preservation Committee. We have 1 member. We have 1 vacancy on that committee. We currently, for that committee, have the Historical Preservation. We have Sunil Chabra. And I have a question. Does anybody know now that he's been elected to another committee, is he still interested in this committee? And if nobody knows, then we'll just leave him on the ballot. Sometimes people put applications for multiple committees,
Yeah, I spoke to him
not
earlier
really
this
wanting
week.
to be on all of them.
He-
Go ahead.
I spoke to him earlier this week. He's interested in only being on 1 committee to start. So he just applied to the ones he's interested in.
Okay, so being that he was already elected to a committee, correct?
To program, I believe, yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So you're saying that he would not be interested in having his nomination for this committee, being that he's already on the other, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So for the Historical Preservation Committee, then we have Gail Lightfoot, Graham Brown, and Araceli de los Santos, so we have 3 people that have expressed interest for 1 seat, and I will open up nominations.
Madam Chair, I'd like.
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr.
Okay,
Alston, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Mr. Graham Brown.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Maligan.
I will nominate Miss Gail Lightfoot.
Okay. And any further nominations? And
I
if
will
not,
nominate Miss
will-
Araceli dos Santos.
Okay.
I believe there are
All
only
right.
3, correct?
There were only 3, correct? Because Sunil did not want to be on an additional. So that is 3 nominees for 1 position. Is there any further nominees? Hearing none. Let me go to that. Please. Mr. Ham, you've not received one of these in the past, so I will send you an email as I did for Mr. Miller previous. In just a moment. So
Thank you.
Mr. Butts is still not here. Yes, I believe that's okay. I have activated the ballot, and give me just one moment to send you your email, Mr. Ham.
Mr.
Mr.
Ham,
Ham,
the
did you
weather
get
in
that
San Diego
email?
must be nice. Blazer and everything with the sun blaring behind you.
Lovely, man.
Did you get
It's
rain?
always lovely.
Sorry?
Did you get rain in San Diego?
Not in North County.
Oh,
We had a bunch of monsoon flooding warnings though.
okay, yeah, because we had the storm and we're on like the border in the mountain area. Usually when you guys have weather, we have the same or similar like that.
Yeah, we had some
Did
electrical
everybody?
storms last night.
One moment. Have you guys been able to vote?
Madam Chair, I don't have the ballot yet.
I don't have
Not
the
yet.
ballot
Oh,
yet.
I
either.
just got it. I
Same.
just got it.
Oh, I got it as well. Apologies.
Okay, same.
And Mr. Ham, did you get the email that I sent?
Not yet. No, here we go.
Okay.
And this is for one vacancy, correct?
Correct. Right now, Ms. Stump and Mr. Ham have not voted yet.
Logging in as we speak.
Okay, Ms. Stump, were you able to log in? Is Ms. Stump
Yes.
still there?
Yes, just
Okay.
hang on a second. I had to re-log in. Okay, it looks as though everybody has voted now. Okay, so the vote totals are Mr. Brown received 10 votes, so he has been elected to this committee. Ms. De Los Santos received 2 votes. Ms. Lightfoot received 2 votes. There were no write-ins or notas, so Mr. Brown has been elected to this committee.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And that will take us to the final committee vacancy, which is the legislative committee. Now, on this committee, we only have 2 people that have expressed interest in the committee with applications, and there are 3 vacancies. The 2 that expressed interest are Drew Shorkey and Meredith Hayes.
Madam Chair, I
So
have a
I'm going-
point of, I guess I have an inquiry. I don't know if it's a point of parliamentary, just a general inquiry. So I have listed as Mr. Zach Kincaid as chair, Mr. David Casano, Mr. Tyler Collins, Dr. Elishiva Levin, and Mr. Ben Weir, which would leave 2. Did one of them drop off? And because that would only leave 2 vacancies versus 3.
Give me one moment. I have currently, so who am I missing? I have Zach Kincaid, Elishiva Levin, David Casano, and Ben Weir. Who is the 5th person that you mentioned?
Tyler Collins.
I did not have him on my list, and he's actually not in the email group. So I do believe he was added. Okay, if he is already on the committee, I did not have him on my list of members of that committee. So if he is on that committee, then you're correct. There would only be 2.
I could message Mr. Kincaid really quickly to see if that is still true. I just thought perhaps that you had received a resignation that we weren't aware of. And I kind of just, I suppose I should have inquired earlier, but I believe that was the last update as far as I knew. But I can message.
Yeah, I sent out all of the committee members the other day, and I hadn't been corrected on that. But I do not show him on my list of members. He might have been added, and I just don't have it. So if you could double check that, that would be great, because I had that we had 3 vacancies. While you check that, I'll start. Well, actually, we've not even opened nominations yet, so I'm going to open up nominations, and we can decide after this. He finds out, but that doesn't affect nominations. So I'm going to open nominations for the Legislative Affairs Committee. Would anybody like to nominate anybody?
So I will nominate Miss Meredith Hayes and Mr. Drew. I already forgot his last name. I apologize.
It's Shorkey, I believe. It's
Shorkey, right? Okay,
Shorkey.
Shorkey. Yes, I will nominate both of them. And it appears that Mr. Collins is on the committee.
Okay. All right. I did not have him. He's not part of the email list. I know that, so that can be corrected. Okay. Is there any other nominations for the Legislative Analysis Committee? Hearing none. That means we have 2 nominees for 2 positions. So if there are no other nominees, I would entertain a motion to elect those 2 candidates as a slate, with a no vote being Noda. Is there anybody that would like to make that motion?
I move to nominate both candidates for the Legislative Committee as a slate, with NODA being another option.
Elect, not nominate, but elect.
Elect, apologies.
Okay, Mr. Edgar, did you understand the motion?
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, that was Ms. Stump first. So it was moved by Mr. Maladon, seconded by Ms. Stump to elect the two candidates for the Legislative Affair Committee as a slate with a no vote being NODA. Is there any discussion on doing this as a slate? Hearing none, is there any objection to doing this vote as a slate with NODA being a nay vote? Hearing no objection, once again, because it's difficult to do votes. Well, let's do this. Is there any objection to nominating those two candidates to the committee?
I believe you mean electing, but
I'm sorry,
making
electing
sure.
those two candidates to the committee,
Sure.
yes. Is there any, we've already determined to do this as a slate with a no vote being NODA, but I'm asking if there's any objection to electing those two to this committee without having to go to a vote. Is there any objection? Okay, I'm not hearing any objection, so therefore they have been elected as slate, so the two of them are now on the legislative committee. Okay, so that takes us, and just out of curiosity, Mr. Lima, where are we on time? I'm curious how close we got to the 70 minutes.
We have 10 minutes. We're at
Oh,
exactly
okay,
1
cool.
hour.
That's pretty good. I thought that it was going to take a little bit longer. Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is candidate endorsements. I've only given 15 minutes for this. I think that'll be sufficient, but if it's not, then we can, you know, think about a motion to extend time. So the first endorsement on the agenda is for Mr. Nichols, who is running for State Assembly District 8, which, by the way, I did figure out which counties that is in. And the counties that Assembly District 8 cover are Calaveras, Fresno, Inyo, Madera, Mariposa, Mono, Tuolumne. And Mr. Nichols is on the call. I would suggest that we give him a moment to speak. Is there any objections to hearing Mr. Nichols? Hearing none, Mr. Nichols?
Hi, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm seeking your endorsement because I'll be the only real libertarian on the ballot in November for a state seat. I'd like to point out that we've recently gotten some notice in the press. Our campaign's been mentioned in Cal Matters, GV Wire. A letter that I wrote to the Fresno Bee was published recently regarding homeless policy here in Fresno County. I'd also like to point out, and this is for a future discussion, that the incumbent, if he wins the election in November, will be termed out after doing a 2-year stint. So that's something to bring up. But appreciate your time and would appreciate your endorsement. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Nichols? Anyone? I would like to mention to everybody that Mr. Nichols was able to raise sufficient funds to get his candidate statement in the sample ballot in Fresno County. He did not do it in all of the counties because that would have been prohibitively expensive, but Fresno County is got the largest population base of his district. So that's going to be good publicity for the party and for Mr. Nichols.
I have a question for Mr. Nichols.
Yes, sir.
This litmus test that you took as far as being a real libertarian or the only real libertarian on the ballot, do you have a copy of this litmus test that you could submit to this committee?
I can provide it at a later time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Malagon. And I do believe that he means he's the only big L
I know, Madam
libertarian on the ballot.
I know, Madam Chair. I just,
But
I
did think
couldn't
it was
resist
funny.
giving him a good rib.
No, I appreciate that, because when he said that, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm a real libertarian. I'm the only real libertarian. Okay, I'm joking.
We all said that,
okay,
I think, in our heads.
Exactly.
The real libertarians should just
Is-
defensively make along the way.
Please mute Mr. Lima for the duration of this meeting. Okay, is that a motion that I can make?
I second it.
I do not believe so. I am going to call that motion out of order. All righty then. So, any further questions for Mr. Nichols? Hearing none, being that this was
Yes.
noted.
We have a hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Nichols, Araceli de los Santos here. Do you support veterans?
I do.
Are you a veteran?
I am not. I have two of my children are combat veterans.
I thank them for their service. No further questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I should have asked if there was any objection to hearing from Ms. de los Santos, but I wasn't looking precisely at my computer at that moment, so I apologize for that. So is there any other questions? Okay, that being said, I am going to move that the Libertarian Party of California endorse Mr. Nichols for Assembly District 8. Is there a second?
Second.
Who seconded first?
Mr. Blandaham.
That was, okay, Mr. Blandaham second. Is there any further discussion, or is there any discussion on this endorsement? Hearing none, endorsements require a 2/3 vote, so I will ask that the secretary take the roll for the vote.
All right. Okay, we'll start with Mr. Malagon.
Aye.
Secretary will vote yes. Mr. Vallandigham,
Yes.
Mr. Butts is not voting. Ms. Stump,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Alvstadt,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Lepacek,
Yes.
Mr. Lima,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Ms. Morrow.
Yes.
He's not here. Mr. Strawn is not here. Ms. Tewksbury,
Oh, yes, please.
Mr. Miller,
Oh, definitely.
Mr. Ham.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the vote is 13 to 0 to 0.
I will vote yes to make it unanimous. And with that endorsement, I will be sending endorsement letters to the 6 counties to have them include that the Libertarian Party of California endorses Mr. Nichols for Assembly District 8. That, by the way, the reason why we had to have this meeting, we couldn't wait, is because that is due on Thursday. So those letters will go out on Monday, both via email and via U.S. postal mail. So thank you very much, and thank you for doing it, Mr. Nichols. I really appreciate that you're actually running a more active campaign, and I am here to help you, and I know that you and I are going to talk soon about some other stuff, right?
Yeah. Yes, and thank you all very much. Making progress.
And did you
Best
get
of
your
luck.
swamp cooler and air conditioning fixed?
No, my neighbor and my wife are hammering on it outside as we speak. So it'll be done before it gets dark.
Okay, good luck with that. All right,
Yeah,
thank you very
thanks.
much. That takes us to the next endorsement on the agenda, which is for Kelly Carden for Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council. It's an at-large position. I know he had planned on being on this meeting, but I do not see him. So, so I'll just speak briefly. I know that everybody here, well, most everybody, I think, knows Mr. Carden. He ran for county supervisor in Kern. He did come in second in a 3-way race in the primary, but the incumbent was able to get a majority.
so it didn't go to the general election. Although interestingly, there's a possible recall of that incumbent at this time, which I thought I'd mention because that's interesting. But I spoke to Mr. Cardin, and he's committed to running for this race. He believes that this is a winnable race for him. I believe it is as well. So he's not here to take questions or anything. So I'm going to go ahead, being that it was noticed ahead of time. I'm going to move that we endorse Mr. Cardin for the Rosamond. 2 seconds ago, Rosamond
Municipal Advisory
Council.
I'll second that.
That was seconded by Ms. Tewksbury.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Again, this is a 2/3 vote required. Mr. Secretary, can you please take the roll?
Okay, beginning with Mr. Malagon,
Aye.
I will vote yes. Mr. Vallandigham,
Yes.
Mr. Butts is not here. Ms. Stump,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Alvstad,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Lepacek,
Yes.
Mr. Lima,
Yes.
Ms. Morrow,
Yes.
Ms. Tewksbury,
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Aye.
The vote is 13-001.
Who was the one?
That's because Mr. Butts didn't vote. Since
He's not here. He doesn't count.
Oh, he wouldn't be counted as not voting? Okay. That is
No, only people
13-001.
here that are present and voting are counted as voting. So if you've counted him or anybody else for anything, it doesn't count.
Then we'll go to, then the vote is 13-000.
And I will vote yes to make that unanimous. And the last vote, you didn't count, Mr. Butts. So,
That's right.
yeah, he's just not here. He's absent, so he doesn't count as a vote. Okay, so that the Cardin has been endorsed. That brings us to the next endorsement on the agenda, which is Mr. Cohen. Roger Cohen, he's in San Bernardino County. He is running for Redlands City Council District 1. He ran in the primary for state assembly seat. I will admit I don't remember the district off the top of my head. It was a 3-way race and he did not come in the top 2. So he is now running for Redlands City Council. He's feeling as though his name recognition from the race for assembly will help him in his race for city council. He had stated that he wouldn't be able to be on this meeting because he had another commitment. So he is not here to speak to his nomination. So therefore, there's nobody to ask questions of. So this was with notice. I will make the motion to endorse Mr. Cohen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that was seconded by Mr. Malagon first. Is there any discussion on this endorsement? Hearing none, once again, this requires a 2/3 vote. If the secretary would take the vote.
Okay.
The roll call, please.
Mr. Malagon,
Aye.
I will vote yes. Mr. Vallandigham,
Yes.
Ms. Stump,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Alvstad,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Lepacek,
Yes.
Mr. Lima,
Aye.
Ms. Morrow, Ms. Morrow, are you there?
Oh, I didn't hear my name. Yes.
Yeah, you cut out for a second.
Ms. Tewksbury,
Yes, please.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Aye.
The vote is 13-000.
Okay, the chair will vote yes to make it unanimous. And Mr. Cohen has been endorsed. That will lead us to the next endorsement, which is Deborah Brandon for John's. And actually, Ms. Brandon, how do you say the name of this? Is it John Sweet?
It's
or
John Sweat. John Sweat Unified.
John.
Yeah.
Okay, John Sweat Unified School District
Yes.
Board. She is here, and if there's no objection, I'd like to let her speak to her endorsement. And just so everybody knows, she is currently elected in that position. She's been in that position since 2014, and she is running for re-election. Is there any objection to hearing from Ms. Brandon? Hearing none. Ms. Brandon, would you like to speak to your nomination? Or I'm sorry, your endorsement?
Hi, my name is Deborah Brandon. I have been involved in our school district for a little over 20 years. I started in the PTA and was in the PTA for 13 years. And then I got on the Citizen Bond Committee to kind of watch what they were spending their money on. And then I ran for office and got on the board, the school board. I've been on the board for 8 years. My focus really is basically controlling costs, making sure that when I was on the bond committee, I didn't think that they had planned it that well, and we were going into another bond issue. And so I've been really kind of bird dogging that and watching that very carefully and staying basically with all the schools that are failing. We have had a positive certification since I've been on the board, and no parcel taxes. So I would appreciate your endorsement.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Ms. Brandon?
I have a question for Miss. I have a couple questions for Miss Brandon, if the chair will indulge me.
Yes.
So, Ms. Brandon, I noticed that you became a dues-paying member for the Libertarian Party of California yesterday. Thank you. I'm a little concerned just because I've been vice chair of Contra Costa County and the chair now for 6 months, and this was the first that I'd heard of you when you reached out to the LPCA. And I just have a personal, rule. If I don't know the person, I just abstain from endorsing because I can't do it in good conscience. Would you mind telling us a little bit about how you found the Libertarian Party, when you registered as a Libertarian with Secretary of State? Just a little bit about your Libertarian origin story, if you would, and who you got endorsed by when you ran in 2014, since you were an incumbent seeking endorsement.
I've never been endorsed. I've never sought endorsement. This is my first time. I've been in the Libertarian Party for 2 years now. I crossed over from the Republican Party. I am very discouraged at the two big parties. And I feel that the Libertarian Party more aligns with my values. And actually, I've kind of felt that they have for some time. But my family was really heavy Republican. And so I kind of stayed there. And what other questions? I'm sorry.
Well, I guess just to piggyback off of that, if you wouldn't mind, what was the initial switch? So you said you've been a registered Libertarian for 2 years now, presumably coming from the GOP. What was it that kind of made you realize that our values were more aligned with your values?
I think that the Republican Party I really don't see a big difference between Democrats and Republicans anymore. Other than personalities. There are a few small differences, but I believe more in local control. And I'm just really discouraged with all the infighting and everything that's going on. So that's my best way to say
with the two major parties, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you, after getting this endorsement, is it something that you would promote, that you were endorsed by the Libertarian Party, that you are a proud Libertarian? What are your thoughts on that? I assume it's not a partisan race. Usually school boards don't tend to be, but is that something that you would have an aversion to?
No.
Or how would that work?
I have absolutely no aversion to telling everybody that I am a libertarian. I've actually had the conversation several times.
And I guess my last question will be, so if you were registered libertarian for 2 years, why was it that you hadn't sought out a local party or affiliate to kind of meet more like-minded people at the very least, especially during probably arguably the 2 worst years? No, not arguably. I would say the last 2 worst years of my lifetime, and I would assume most people on this call. So why just become a dues paying member yesterday and not? Why didn't you seek us out earlier, I guess would be my question.
I'm extremely involved in my local community and in the schools. And so I just haven't had the bandwidth. I also have a full-time job. So it is something that I would probably be interested in the future. I make a difference where I'm at right now and in the school and in my community.
Thank you. I'd love for you to join us for our next meeting, which would be a business meeting on Monday and then a social on Friday for Contra Costa County.
Okay.
I'll still kind of see, I'm very apprehensive about voting for people that I haven't met and known, just because it's a matter of conscience for me. But if I do abstain, please don't take it personally. It's just that's kind of my personal role, and everyone here knows that. So, but thank you so much for becoming a dues paying member, and we welcome you with open arms.
Thank you. On Monday, during the day, or is it this Monday?
It'll be a virtual meeting at night, and then a social will be Friday in the evening.
Okay.
And I can send you the information. I can send you my email. I have your information, so I can send you my email address, and then I can send you the information as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions? And if not, I'm going to say a brief word, but is there other questions first?
Just a question, just to kind of gauge it for outreach. When did you become aware that there was a county affiliate? Because some people aren't even aware that there's a state or county affiliate parties.
Madam Chair, we're at 15 minutes.
I'll move to extend time by 2 minutes.
Second.
Well, actually,
wait, we've got another endorsement after this.
Yeah, so if we could move it to extend time by 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and
I'll
then-
move to extend time by 10 minutes then.
Seconded again.
Okay, that was moved by Ms. Tewksbury, seconded by who was the second again?
Mr. Lima.
Mr. Lima. Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Tewksbury, seconded by Mr. Lima to extend time by 10 minutes. Is there any objection to extending time? Hearing none, time has been extended. Ms. Stump, I know that you were asking a question. Yesterday when I talked to Ms. Brendan on the phone, she had reached out to the party for endorsement. And at the time that we spoke, I don't believe she really knew much about the party apparatus, because she's been a libertarian for 2 years. She's been an elected, and she really didn't know. So after speaking with her, she wanted to join the party and she wanted to get more involved. So I just wanted to just kind of say that, because I had a conversation with her yesterday about this very, very thing. And it's very similar to some of our other electeds that have flipped, like for instance, Mr. I'll not get his last name right, Nils, he had been a Republican, he flipped to a libertarian. It took him a minute to get involved in the party. So I just thought I'd say that. But Ms. Stump, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to kind of gauge from her when she became aware that there was, a state party and county affiliates. Because it seems that there's a lot of people who are registered libertarians that aren't aware of us. So I just kind of wanted to do a quick poll feedback, so that way in communications kind of help tailor towards reaching out to those who aren't aware of us. So just to kind of give some feedback to help, guide my committee.
So I did just become aware of it. I would imagine, though, if I really wanted to pursue it, the information is probably available online. So I did just become aware of it, but I'm sure I could have sought it out as well. So I just want to be honest about that.
Thank you.
And the last thing I'll say is when I spoke to her yesterday, she had come upon our website because she wanted to seek endorsement for the first time, and that's how she kind of found us through that. So she did seek us out that way. But I'm just saying, from my conversation with her yesterday, it seems to me that that was like kind of her first hearing of the fact that there were these local parties. Is there
Yeah.
any further questions?
I was just going to chime in that I was registered with the party for quite a few years, but different people need different motivations. 2016 was my motivation with the presidential election. I volunteered to do phone banking for Gary Johnson, and through that I got connected to the local Riverside County Party and connected with Jeff Hewitt. So different people connect in different ways.
And I believe Mr. Ham.
Ms. Brandon, thank you for asking for an endorsement and reaching out. As a school board member, how is your tenure aligned with libertarian positions on education policy, and how do you plan to promote liberty as a libertarian endorsed school board member?
So I am very careful with the amounts, basically our budgeting. I've been a watchdog for our bond measures. I've actually opposed the parcel tax that they're trying to push through. I think that I'm very hands-on with regards to local control, local families, local community, getting involved with my community. I hope that aligns.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one more question, Nick. If you wouldn't mind, your candidate statement spoke heavily against CRT, which is, I would say, fantastic. Would you speak on that a little bit more? I'm just kind of curious about that take.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you were saying.
Just a little bit. Your candidate statement was
believe
very heavily against CRT, which I think is.
Mr. Malagon, that was Mr. Samuel's statement that spoke about.
Oh, was
CRT.
that
Was
not?
not Ms. Yeah, there was two
Did I
different
get these mixed up?
statements
Oh,
that
they
were
came. I
separated.
see.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I guess I'll change
One
my
was-
question to how do you feel about critical race theory then?
About what?
About critical race theory. What would your
Oh.
position on that be?
I have not investigated it thoroughly. We have not endorsed it in our district. If we were to have people start reaching out about it, I would become more involved and understand more. I think that's my best answer to give.
Thank you for the correction, Madam Chair. I did mix both of them up because they came in the bulk. And I guess my last question would be before, if anyone else has something else, my last one would be about your thoughts on school choice.
So I think it's important for parents to decide where their children are going to go to school. I think that's very important. But I also think that public education plays a very important role in our community and our society, because there are many people who don't have the resources to reach other, to make other choices. So.
I have a follow-up question on that then. So I agree, currently there aren't that, but just fundamentally, would you support school choice if that were an option? Because that's a strong libertarian belief, is that we should be giving parents that option. And so we'd like to change laws to be able to afford parents that option without having to have the money for public school or for private schools. And I guess that I would just phrase the question that it's not currently available, but is that something you support?
Yes.
And that's an issue that's very important to me as well. So Thank you for bringing that up. Any further questions for Ms. Brandon? I'm sorry, it seems like an inquisition, but obviously you're new to the party, so people had to ask lots of questions.
Okay.
Is there any further questions for Ms. Brandon?
Okay, hearing none. Once again, this is a, so again, I will move to endorse Ms. Brandon for the John Swett Unified School District. It's an at-large race. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Also,
Who was first?
It was Mr. Landaham.
Okay, Mr. Landaham was first. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, can the secretary please take a roll call vote? Once again, this is a endorsement. It requires 2/3.
All right, I'll start with Mr. Malagon.
I will abstain. Again, this isn't anything against you, Miss Brandon. I just have a personal role about this, as most everyone on this call knows already. I'd love to get to know you a little bit better, and I'd love to be able to give a very exuberant yes in the future, but I will abstain this time around.
I will abstain. Mr. Vallandigham,
Yes.
Ms. Stump,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Alvestad,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
I'll abstain.
Ms. Lepacek,
Yes.
Mr. Lima.
I vote yes. I'd love to meet you as well too. I'm running for a local office in Hayward, and I'd love to pick your brain about how the school board operates. So, yes.
Ms. Morrow,
Yes.
Ms. Tewksbury,
Abstain, I'm sorry.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Nay.
Madam Chair, the vote is 8-1-4-0.
Well, it needs 10 votes to pass. I will vote yes, although my vote doesn't matter. And it fails because it needs 10 votes, and I'm very sorry. I'm disappointed, especially since you are a current elected, which is always good for us to have electeds that are libertarians. So I want to apologize. But thank you very much for taking your time being here, and possibly a motion once you meet some people, some folks. We will have we can always have a motion again at a future date if people after meeting you would like to do that.
Yeah, it's a good point. We
thank-
do have the September meeting coming up in Santanella, so that's a very good opportunity. This can still be redone, and I'd like to thank Ms. Brandon for coming and joining us throughout the entire meeting and participating and being here for the Inquisition, so to speak. So yes.
Okay, that brings us to the final endorsement on our agenda, which is for Mr. Samuels. Lawrence Samuels is a longtime activist. He's the chair of Monterey County affiliate. He is an avid writer. He wrote a ballot argument for his, not for the Libertarian Party, but for his Taxpayers Association opposing a bond measure in Monterey County. He's running for the Carmel Unified School District Board. He is not on this meeting. However, he's seeking our endorsement. Once again, I will go ahead and I will make the motion to endorse. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Flanagan. Is there any discussion?
I don't know Mr. Samuels at all. He's not on this meeting to speak on his nominate or his endorsement. I just have the one blurb that was emailed now that I have them all squared away. So I'll just be abstaining for the same reason. I don't know him, and I can't do that in good conscience. So that's all I'll say.
Okay, well, I will say that he's been a very long time member. He's been very active. I believe he's ran for office in the past. He's often a speaker. He was at our convention in 2020 selling his books. So I will speak on his behalf that he's been a very long-term member and a very active member in his long tenure with the party. Is there any further discussion on Mr. Samuels? And I'm actually kind of surprised because I thought he was fairly well known in the party even still. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything about this endorsement?
Well, why couldn't he get on the call again? I'm sorry.
He had other obligations today.
Okay.
He just found out about this meeting 2 days ago when his vice chair of Monterey County sent the information that he was running for the school board. And so then I conversed with him via email, but he wasn't going to be able to be on this call.
Could we table it till Santinella?
Being that Santinella is just prior to people getting their ballots in the mail, and the motion has already been made and seconded, I would suggest we don't, because typically during campaigns, people like to use their endorsements as part of their campaign. And our business meeting is September 24th, and the sample ballots will be hitting mailboxes the first week of October.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you can make the motion to table, you can. I'm just suggesting that at that point would be less of a benefit for him and his run. Would you like to make the motion to table?
No, we'll vote on it.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the endorsement for Mr. Samuels? Hearing none, once again, this will require 10 votes. Can the secretary please take the roll? I think you're muted.
Mr. Edgar, you're
I was
muted.
muted. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Mr. Malagon.
I will stay consistent and abstain because I'm not familiar with Mr. Samuels.
I will vote yes. Mr. Vallandigham,
I've communicated with Mr. Samuels quite a bit, and I enthusiastically vote yes.
Ms. Stump,
I vote yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Alvstad,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
I'll abstain.
Ms. LaPatrick,
Yes.
Mr. Lima,
I'm gonna take your word for it, Madam Chair. So I vote yes.
Ms. Morrow,
Yes.
Ms. Tewksbury,
Abstain.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the vote is 10-0-3-0.
Okay, I know Mr. Samuels well. I will vote yes, although my vote doesn't count. So he is endorsed. Okay, so that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is adjournment. So if there's nothing else to say, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:51. Thank you all very much, and
Thank
have a great
you.
rest.
Thanks, everybody.
You have a better one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.